welcome to week 9 back from birth. Here's your exercises for this week. Weighted squats. Holding a weight, belly button in, feet shoulder width apart, weight in your heels, bend the knees, bottom goes back. Keeping that chest nice and upright. Plank, hands to elbows. So coming into our high plank position, got my hands under my shoulders, my legs are extended, my toes are on the ground. From here, thinking about activating my core and my pelvic floor, and I'm going to go down to my elbows and push back up onto my hands. From here, we're going to repeat with the other side. My body stays nice and strong like a ruler, and I have that constant core activation. Glute bridge heel slides. Coming into our glute bridge position, on our back, feet towards our bottom. We're going to activate our pelvic floor, our transverse abdominis, and make sure our pelvis is in a good position. So if you have a big tilt, we're going to think about flattening our back against the mat and activating that pelvis so we're in a good position. Pushing up through our heels, we're going to hold this position while one leg heel slides out straight and comes back in. It's important to maintain our activation holds whilst we're doing this to try and keep our pelvis and our trunk as stable as we can. Push-ups on our toes. Coming up into our push-up position, we want to activate our pelvic floor and our transverse abdominis before we go through the movement. So think about those 2 points. Activate, keeping my spine nice and straight. I'm going to lower my chest to the ground. Plank pulses. Coming up in our plank position, so putting my elbow under my shoulder, stacking my feet on top of each other. Before I start the movement, think about activating my pelvic floor. So I activate, and now I'm going to pulse upwards. Elevated one-legged squats. So for this one, you're going to use a step or a lounge. We're going to stand up, take a big step forward, elevate our back foot so our toes are resting on it. Here we're going to bend our front knee while keeping the weight in our heels, while lowering your back knee to the ground. You'll feel this in both legs. The front one's taking the load, while the back one's working hard to stabilize. Again, thinking about activating your pelvic floor and your transverse abdominis, and we're holding them throughout this movement. Arm and leg extensions. Coming onto all fours, we've got our knees under our hips, our hands under our shoulders, whilst activating your pelvic floor and transverse abdominis at once. We activate and hold whilst extending one arm and one leg. Return back to position whilst maintaining that transverse abdominis and pelvic floor position. Activate the other hand and leg. Trying to minimize any movement in your pelvis, and that really strong core stability and that pelvic floor activation helps to control that movement. So activate and hold whilst doing a single arm and single leg. Deadlifts. Practicing the deadlift is a really functional movement because it's what you're doing to get your baby up and down off the ground, in and out of the crib. So we want to make sure we're doing it correctly. So holding your baby however you like, belly button in, soft knees, coming forward. Weight in your hamstrings and your glutes, so weight in your heels. Belly button in. Bicep curl. Using a TheraBand if you have one, or some weights, cans of beans, 2-litre milk bottles, whatever you like. If you're using a band, you're going to stand in it, grab one end each side, and bend your wrist towards your elbows. You'll feel this here in your biceps. My body is nice and straight. The only thing moving is my hands towards my shoulders. Weighted lunges. Just like our normal lunges, but with a weight. Taking one foot out, big step, bend that back knee. Can either touch the ground or stop just before, coming back, swapping it over. tricep dips. So coming onto a lounge or a step, we're going to put our hands on it just outside our chest here, bending our knees, and we're going to push up onto our heels whilst extending our arms. Our lower limbs here are our weight point. So we're going to bend our elbows so it lowers our weight towards the ground and drive back up by pushing up through your hands. To make it easier, bring your feet back towards you so that your feet's carrying some of the load, so it's less for your shoulders and your triceps. To make it harder, extend the limbs so that the load is further away from you.